start this program. And it was later we were able to get the Malaysian High Commissioner to be here. Professor Akintarewa is still actively engaged in teaching and research with Achievers University, Owo, and is here with his dear wife. Please join us in welcoming our own veteran diplomat, Professor Bola Akintarewa. You are all welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another clap of a round for Dr. Ajinde. Permit me to respectfully recognize the presence of the representative of the Provost of MHS, Dr. Odiagu, LO, Dean of College of FSC. Without wasting your time, I will quickly like to beckon on the Provost of SMS for his welcome address.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I think the founder is on his way in. Can we clap for the founder once again? And his amiable wife, Yeyare Mudupe Babalola. You are welcome, Kabisi. Yeyare, you are welcome. Thank you, man. Please have your seat. Kabisi, before your arrival, I've been called to the podium to give the welcome address as the Provost of the College of Social and Development Sciences. You are welcome, Sama. Now I want to appreciate once again the founder Ààrẹ Afẹ́ Babalola, I want to thank you, sir, for coming to support us all the time. Our founder, not only supportive, is always available. Amidst tight schedule, when you call him, he is always here with us. Thank you for the love for SMS. Thank you, sir. God bless you. And I want to let you know that KBC is wearing blue today. So KBC is part of us in SMS. You are welcome, sir. We love you. You are welcome. We love you too. God bless you for us in Jesus' name. I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor, ever dynamic Vice Chancellor. Thank you also for the love for SMS. We appreciate you, we welcome you, and I pray that God will always uphold you and grant you wisdom to be able to partner the keynote of this particular university. It will not sink before your eyes in Jesus' name. Yeah, I want to thank my mommy, the registrar of the university. Mommy, I appreciate you. You are also in blue today. You are welcome. I want to specifically appreciate the speaker today. Prof, we have met once. This is the second time. And you have taken me as your son. Thank you for the adoption. God bless you, sir. And thank you for bringing mommy here today to be part of this particular program. It's good to have a better half, because Prof is not ever complete without the better half. Mommy, thank you for supporting Daddy. God bless you for coming in Jesus' name. I want to thank all my colleagues, especially the representative of the provost of the College of Medicine and Health Sciences. Prof, you are welcome. HOD, Dr. Ajinde, God bless you. My dear sister, Professor Adaura Osoduhoti, where are you? You are, God bless you. You are not feeling fine. You have not been feeling fine, but you are still working. The Lord is your strength. God bless you. I want to appreciate my students too for coming. This is your day. This is a one-time opportunity that you may never get in a short time. But I pray that you are going to pay attention to the discussion. And I know there's time for question and answer. So you'll be able to at least express your mind, ask questions about what we are going to discuss today. I'm also going to benefit from this, because when I look at the team, I discovered that what we are talking about is beyond me, and I'm not a student of history. When we talk about 1948, I was still somewhere then, I don't know. So I came into life after that. So that means it's beyond me. So I'm going back to history to learn. And that is what Prof is going to tell us today. He's going to take us back, talk about the present, and possibly talk about the future of the Palestine-Israeli war. And I pray that there will be peace in that region very soon in Jesus' name. It has been a long time war and battle. And I think it is above what we can discuss separately. It's supposed to be a combined discussion, a dialogue, where we can say, what can we do to bring back peace into that particular region? Thank God, because we have Department of Peace and Conflicts here. They are also here to observe and to help us, tell us the way out of this particular war. War is not a good thing at all. Thank God for Nigeria, because we are still living, though the economy is not too bad, but there is still peace in this country to an extent. And I pray there won't be war in this country in Jesus' name. Once again, I want to appreciate everyone, and I want to assure you that we're going to have the best of discussion and deliberation today, and that after the whole thing, all of us here will benefit tremendously from this particular lecture. Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. As the program was ongoing, the founder and chancellor walked in. may I crave the indulgence of this House to once again recognize our founder and chancellor, Ààrẹ Afe Babalola, SAN, OFR, CON, DLIT, NDA, etc., etc. He equally walked in with his wife, our matriarch, Yeye Ààrẹ Modupe Babalola. I would like to call upon Mr. Atunde Olafitila to respectfully come and take over the anchor of this program. We are waiting for you, sir.
The founder, Yeye Ààrẹ Modupe Babalola, and the leadership of the university. When my brother called upon me, or gave me an order to be here, I remember the particular track I listened to when I was in CMS Grammar School. This certainly is an ambush. But since I've been called upon to take over, I hereby take over. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here for a serious business. The next thing on the program is for the best Vice Chancellor in Nigeria today. I'm talking about our own Vice Chancellor, Professor Smaranda Olarindito. Please welcome the totality of all of us to the House this morning.
Once again, a very beautiful morning, the morning of the day that looks forward for peace, for unity and harmony in the world. And on this note, I want to recognize and stand on the already existing recognized protocol. On behalf of our very great beloved founder, chancellor, and president of Afe Babalola University, Ado Ekiti, our own Ààrẹ Afe Emmanuel Babalola, the Baomorphy of Yoruba land, his beautiful wife, the lady of international class, Yeye Ààrẹ Modupe Babalola, my colleagues, all here present, special recognition to the provost of the college, head of department, faculty, members of the college, and most especially our students. The present, the future belongs to you. Simply meaning that if there shall be peace, harmony, prosperity, it is in your hands. I also welcome in a very special way our highly distinguished erudite guest lecturer, Professor Bola Akinteriwa, to Afe Babalola University, sir. And your amiable wife, Mommy Fehinola Yabo Akinteriwa. You're most welcome, ma'am. You are here with us today not only to provide moral, but also emotional and academic support to our distinguished lecturer. We appreciate you, ma'am. I most warmly welcome the Achievers, the staff and students from Achievers University. Professor Akinteriwa's current affiliation. Welcome to ABUAD. This diplomatic dialogue program, organized today by the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy of our institution, is an annual event that brings together seasoned diplomats, serving and retired and international relations experts from across the globe.
And the institution you represent. Or should I go ahead, ma'am? Madam, should I go ahead so that you can relay the message to him? Good. The selection or election of the leadership of the NIA continues to marvel me as a person. Right from the days of Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, everybody that has occupied
Research professor with effect January 1st, 1996, and research professor from 1st January 2002. During this period, he received 3 special letters of commendations from the management of the institute for his scholarship and patriotic activities. Professor Bola Akinteriwa has authored more than 20 books, of which 10 were single-authored and 10 he co-edited. He has also published more than 60 scholarly articles in learned journals. He is a guest analyst with the Arise Television and This Day Live, where he maintains a weekly column. He was appointed Acting Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs on 16th November 2010 and made substantive direction.
Ola is dignity. Ola is wealth. Ola is riches. Ola is goodness. And these are the major characteristics of God. People say, land. While some are saying that the conflict is recidivist, is unending, and the word hate was what was used by the senior advocate of Nigeria when SAN used to be given basically on the basis of merit, no lobbying. That was when our own founder here got his own SAN. No be yesterday, oh. Nah, long time. Now you will now see that we have different perspectives. The issue of hate, according to our daddy founder, has a biblical root. And he even talked about it that it was incubated. You know an incubator? When you incubate, when something is incubated, you now will see that from Genesis to a certain level. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. Since, according to the program, I have 60 minutes, and probably I might have spent one quarter minutes for my protocol. Under normal circumstances, the minutes spent on protocol, they are not added to the 60 minutes. But if you want to reckon with the time of protocol, no problem, we will continue. But how do we go about it? In my... Okay. All right. I try to explain first of all to say, why do you limit my analysis to the geopolitical conflict? Because you have already assumed that there are other areas of conflict. But you want me to focus on the geopolitical dimension. You also want me to talk about global peace, implications for global peace. I have never accepted that. So, you cannot be talking about global peace that does not exist. It does not exist. I am particularly glad that reference was made to what Shifafe Babalola had already, written. It's recidivist. It has been there. I now said, if I am supposed to do an analysis of the implications for global peace, then we need not to use the legal word saying codify, but we need to put the understanding of that global peace in context. What is global? In which way is the word global different from international? When in the 17th century a British philosopher, Joe Bentham, coined the word international, he said what transpires between any two nations. But generally, people try to use the word international beyond what Joe Bentham conceptualized. According to Joe Bentham, relationship at the bilateral level between any two countries is international. But the moment you now want to use international to imply universalism, there is problem. And that was why, for instance, a French school of thought came up with the word to say, in between bilateralism and multilateralism, there is the need to have plurilateralism. That is, you have more than two states involved, but not up to a universal scale. And the examples of, say, ECOWAS of 16 countries, later 15, the example of a European Union of 28 to 27, all these examples were given. Organization of Latin American countries, even AU of about 50-something countries. So, I look at it to say global peace. Let us assume that the whole globe has peace. It's an assumption, because there is none. War can be hot. It can also be cold. So when people do not talk about, or when they talk about peace, in the context of absence of shooting war, that's what they mean by peace. But Cold War, when you undermine the enemy without the use of arms, it is still war. Then how can you now talk about peace in the world? Finally, peace and security in the 21st century. I raised in my paper that we are in 2024. This 21st century still has many decades. It will end in 2099. How can I talk about implications for peace in 2098, 2099? By implication, I am required to adopt, multidisciplinary methodology, while looking at what happened in the beginning of the century. Probably a historical analysis will be required. Probably a systemic methodology will be required. But in between 2024 and 2099, we will need something like a conjectural analysis. You either have to be a good prophet, you are having the means to look into the future, just like Shakespeare would say in Macbeth. Where Macbeth will ask the three witches, asking the witches, tell me whether it will be this, whether it will be there. When he was going to do battle in Scotland, and you have the king there, Malcolm and Donald Bean, by that time will be waiting to see, to query who killed our king. So since I am not a prophet, I cannot look into the future. I cannot predict. What do I do? So I explicated all these scenarios in the first part there. And then in the second part, I now talked about the thrust. The thrust of the lecture. I looked at the dynamics of the conflict. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We can easily predict that since this thing is happening now, it is most likely that it will be X like this tomorrow. In the way you will argue mathematically, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, therefore A cannot but be equal to C. So the current scenarios, what is actually happening, we can be able to predict, but prediction does not mean it will be factual. You are only assuming. And then you can plan, you can evolve, you can discuss your policy on the basis of these considerations. And in this particular case, I identified about 6 major dynamics. I think when you have a copy of the lecture, you will see the details. Since our lecture has the character of a dialogue, not a monologue, dialogue, meaning that you say your own, I say my own, within the framework of freedom, because of psychology of human differences, you look at it differently, and we share ideas. We do not have to agree, but at least let us agree on some perspectives based on hard facts on the ground. I identified, for instance, irreconcilable obligations of the League of Nations mandate over Palestine. Okay, well. All right, I continue. We can leave the PowerPoints. What do I mean by irreconcilable obligations of the League of Nations mandate over Palestine? You know, towards the tail end of the First World War, some countries were giving to the British as mandated territories. They include Palestine, Syria, even Lebanon and all these. Mandated trustees, what does that mean? The French, the British were there, struggling. Since they defeated the Germans, the agent provocateur, the Germans are always there when it comes to troublemaking. The Germans threatened the whole world because of their belief in what they call Aryan culture. Aryan, A-R-Y-A-N. Aryan is to say that we Germans, we are superior to you. Our blood is purer than your own. Our making, our physique, what we stand for, we are better. Truly, we are next to God. That's what they are preaching. So all others, they are slaves, they are messengers, they are people to be sent on errands here and there. And that was what the Germans wanted, for instance, to show the whole world, which prompted other countries, other great powers to oppose that. If we are going to the history as well as to the historiography of the Holocaust, you will find this issue of Aryan theory. Now, Palestine was given to the British. The British actually was the governing authority in between 1917 and 1922, before it was converted to a mandated territory in status. At the end of the day, the mandate, the text, the writing, there were different conflicting, statements that lawyers, learned people have drawn attention to. So, the mandate itself didn't talk about whether to give independence to Palestine and so on and so forth. They only looked at how to show commitment to independence, create, a land. By this time, the irreconcilability of many phrases there prompted what I have always called order and counter-order amounting to disorder. So if you are arguing along this line, as we have been told in our O-level mathematics that parallel lines do not meet. So when you have a sort of parallel arguments in a document, how are you going to find a point of reconciliation? I talked about recidivist wars in between. People normally talk about the first war, dating it to 1948. But they easily forget that there were, activities of rebellion in the 1930s. They easily forget that the Jews themselves have a belligerent character. Belligerent character itself is a dynamic of the war. At a point in time, the British have a foreign policy. Even go back to 1900. To date, British foreign policy is characterized by duplicity. Duplicity. And the Europeans are generally like that. Duplicity, if you go to France, France, the seat of their government is in Matignon, M-A-T-I-G-N-O-N, Matignon. Then they have their presidency in Elysee. E-L-Y-S, E, accent aigu, and E. You see, during Nigeria's Civil War, consciously, the French Prime Minister by that time will be talking along one direction, saying, no, if the Igbo people cannot find peace in Nigeria, why not allow them to have peace in their region? The presidency, Elysee, will come up to say, no, here, what is wrong in getting the two people united? So, if you are reading the Elysee version, you will think that France is supporting Nigeria. And if you are looking at Michel Debré, the Prime Minister, you will think that they are against. This is conscious policy. And again, the way the French will teach their students, never to make it articulated. Never. You must use ambiguous words in such a way that when you negotiate, you insert that one in the document. When there is problem, the French will tell you, no, that's not what we meant. This is what it means. Why? They have used a word that can give you multiple meanings. So, the duplicity of the British was an issue. When on November 2nd, 1917, the British Prime Minister by that time promised, you know, they call it William Balfour Declaration, promised a homeland, you know, for the Jews. They knew quite well that it is the land called Palestine that they are going to carve the land out from. But when the Arabs were also asking, in fact, the duplicity should begin with and the Arabs were also responding. The Germans by that time were trying to give support to the Arabs. The British were frightened. They now quickly decided that, okay, look, this annual percentage of a flow of Jews into Palestine should be reduced. The Jews now came, you this British, you didn't respect your words. In law, in international law, there's the principle of pacta sunt servanda, that is sanctity of agreements. If you consciously, without any prayer, if you enter into an agreement, you are not forced. You consciously negotiated and you signed. Then logic, common sense, decency requires that you also respect what you have said. So they drew the attention of the British to it to say, you reach an agreement with us and you are no longer trying to respect that. That is a breach of gentleman agreement. Gentleman agreement is different from having serious accord. Pacta concordatum. Pacta concordatum is the name of the agreements normally done by the Catholics, the Christians. Gentleman agreement, we reach an understanding, but we didn't put it black and white. So there are many elements of conduct and management of international affairs not based on written. It's just like in the context of Nigeria, for instance. I have heard somewhere to say that, Nigeria, this group of people should not be president of Nigeria until so. It was never written anywhere. You will never find it. But there is an entente cordiale. Entente, E-N-T-E-N-T, entente means understanding, cordial understanding, warm understanding amongst, the ruling elite that no president will come from your region for now. And they all agree. This is duplicity par excellence. It is a dynamic of the conflict. You can just imagine another dynamic, United States as a major source of trouble. In law, international law, the principle of mediation, for instance, mediation requires that you want to be a mediator, fine. A mediator must be acceptable to all the disputing parties. And you must not have partisan interest. You cannot have partisan interest. United States of America, the Washingtonian government has partisan interests. America is supporting Israel, but the same America wants to be a mediator. How can you mediate when you have partisan interests? I am just picking one by one to say many are the dynamics. We need to understand the dynamics before you can now say you are looking for peace. If you are a medical doctor, for instance, someone told me that when you go to a medical doctor, do you have headache? Do you have this? What is your problem? Question and answer. They will be saying, but he didn't test me. How would he be asking this and be prescribing? Lead there. If you leave Lagos, you are going to Ibadan. If you go through Shagamu, fine. But should you leave Victoria Island, you go through Ijebu-Ode and take the old road, go through more plantation to get to Ibadan, you will still get there. But it's not the same experience. So when we talk about recidivist wars, in the 1930s, they have been fighting themselves, burning hotels, before they culminated into serious war. So, 1948, 1956, in 1967, Six-Day War, in 1973, Yom Kippur War. Please, the more they look for peace, that reminds me of what Jimmy Cliff said. Struggling man must get to move. The way they are moving, looking for peace, peace is moving faster. They can't catch it up. And I can tell you that, look, do you know why a wicked person can never overcome, beat the righteous man? It's not possible for the wicked man. No. The beauty of it all is that, look, let us assume, and you can give me the name. You can say, Afe Emmanuel Babalola Jr. And in this case, I am striving to ensure the survival, the greatness, the beauty of the university. And I am running. The enemy, instead of working harder to meet me, is trying to fight me from rear. So, when the enemy is coming from the back and is pushing me, The air in between me and the person in front, the air. My body is pushing the air, and the air is pushing the person forward. In such a way that the faster you move, the faster the person in front will also be moving, because you are pushing him forward. That is why, for instance, it can never be possible for the wicked, the detractors, to overcome those who are leading. Those who lead, they will always be leaders. Because the oxygenated air, the people there are pushing it and they are sustaining. This is one logic that people hardly talk about. Another series of dynamics, I talked about the failed peace conferences. Whenever there is war, then there will also be peace negotiations following. The peace negotiations only reconcile, put an end to the ongoing war. They may, if they are good enough, to, prevent recurrence. But in the context of Israeli-Palestinian, they do not. We had the Oslo Accords. We had the Madrid Principles. We have the Quartet Roadmap. We have many of them. But you see, Oslo Accords, which many people believe that had worked to a great extent, they ended up being set aside because Israel would prefer to negotiate directly with the Palestinians. Israel preferred to negotiate with Yasser Arafat before he died. When you look at dynamic number 4, international politics of the conflict, you see, you are more conversant, you know more than I do when we talk about veto. The UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, with the UN Security Council, many resolutions have been drafted. But you see, when the whole world decide that they should sanction Israel, the United States will certainly come and veto. Veto. What is the meaning of veto? Here in Nigeria, in Africa, they will tell you a tree does not make a forest. When they tell you a tree does not make a forest, please tell them, na lie. A tree can make a forest. For various reasons. At the level of international relations, for instance, there's what they call the principle of weighted voting. Principle of weighted voting. The principle of weighted voting simply means that how much money you have will determine the number of votes. So when the continent of Africa, with 54, 55 countries, 55 votes, and 2 or 3 European countries, they have more money, then the vote of 1, 2 countries, one vote will neutralize all others. And I want to invite you to a particular, to 2 provisions of the UN Charter, to let you know if you are talking about peace. Please, you can dream, but dream very well. Article 108 particularly Article 109, says that, look, if you want to amend the charter, 15 minutes. Okay. If you want to amend the charter, you need the consensus opinion of the P5. It is only sufficient for one of them to refuse to vote. There's nothing you can do. African countries have tried all along talking about democratization of the African Union, United Nations, democratization everywhere. Since the Labol Conference of 1990, Franco-African Summit, made democratization a conditionality for development aid. They have been preaching this sermon of democracy. US is there leading, supported by UK, France, Germany, all of them. But these same people who are preaching the sermon of democracy to us, they don't abide with it. They don't want democratization at the level of the UN. They don't want to do away with veto. You see, there are many dynamics. I've been given less than 15 minutes. Issues in the dispute. We have the two-state solution, Palestinian and Jewish states. That was what was initially proposed even in 1948. It was when the British were unable to control, you know, the aggressiveness of the Arab are the countries that launched attack. The recent Iranian attack on Israel, in response to the violation of international law by Israel, attacking the consulate of Iran in Damascus, Syria. When you look at it, many critical issues are raised there. Either you are looking at it in terms of international politics, in terms of international law, in terms of humanitarian law. All these issues were there. Now, genocide is a critical issue. Genocide. When it all started, the impression is that, oh, Israel is not engaging in the crime of genocide. Then people will be interpreting the Genocide Convention. But the Genocide Convention itself used the word intent in the intention. You have not come into the practical stage of engaging in it, but you have the intention. That in itself necessarily is genocidal. Now, when Israel was attacking, the Israeli forces were attacking indiscriminately. International law describes some people as internationally protected people. This, we say, the Israelis have killed so numbers. Beautiful. But they have not succeeded in killing Hamas, the militants. They were only killing unarmed people. They were targeting, okay, if they are succeeding, they are making progress. Why is it difficult for them not to have been able to release those held in hostages? Israel, the problem there, we may say is biblical. It is not just the problem of land. It's not just the problem of land. There is what I have called distinctive identity, distinctive self-identity of the Jews. Jews are having problems. If you say the Jews are children of God, You are right. I won't quarrel with you. I'm not saying they are not children of God. But God is a God of goodness. Baba Lola, Baba is, a man of goodness. Why will a man of goodness as a father, as a founder, be good? Then you, the students, you will not be giving the excuses that you are engaging with wickedness because your father is good. Is that the teaching? So, in this case, the problem the Jews have always had is that when, etymologically, when you want to go back to the genesis of these problems, the issue is that, in the various wars, go back to the 13th century, come back to the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. It's just like the way Igbo people will be living in Nigeria. Wherever they go to, they don't want to do all that. You are coming to me. Okay. Oh, I thought it's time to leave. But what I'm trying to say, the Jews, they promote their culture. And that was why the Nazis saying they contest them. They are promoting a holier than thou. And they say, you come here to Zetu, and you now want to override us. That was why they started, hostility against them. Wherever they are, when they were fought, they spread all over the world. They go to Syria, they go to Russia. And at a point in time, since they were always meeting hostility, that was why, for instance, they now decided that they need to find a place for them. And they were now coming back. And that was the basis of saying Palestine. The Israelis were the original inhabitants there in Judea. They were in Judea. It was when the Romans attacked Judea, neutralized them, that they have to disperse. They now said in 1917 to say, let us go back to our home. Number of points for our dialogue. 60 minutes can never be enough for a topic like this. Because I have not even gotten to the level of international politics of it. And why, for instance, this Third World War? We have started it. It is just like when the Second World War was to begin. It started by someone riding a bicycle, and they decided to hit him so that there can be war. Netanyahu, for instance, doesn't want a war that can be stopped now. If the war is stopped now, how is he going to survive in Israel? It's not in his own interest. Is it in the interest of the United States to have it, ended? Is it in the interest of all the manufacturers of weapons that there's no war? If there's no war, who will buy their weapons? If there's no war, how are they going to test the new weapons? You see, when there is peace, you need to create a situation of violence so that you can sell. This is, international politics is very interesting. Don't always rely on what is published. In real fact, what I am saying in essence is that the Israelo-Palestinian war is not a war between Israel
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a new dimension to lecture delivery. Thank you so very much, Prof. You have introduced a new dimension to public discourse. We appreciate you. Let's put our hands together for the erudite professor. Obviously, we are leaving this hall better educated than when we came in this morning. We appreciate you. Please have your seat. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when the founder was coming in earlier today, I had the opportunity of being directly behind him. And I saw this man, silver-haired, that means knowledge and wisdom. I have introduced some people on this podium as 5-star generals. I think the guest lecturer today eminently deserves to be addressed as one, a 5-star academic general. Professor, please, if you don't mind, may you be upstanding? Cameraman, please focus on his shirt. Indeed, you will see that he has 5 stars. That confirms the fact that he's indeed a 5-star academic general. You are welcome, Prof. Oh, you are counting, but that's the truth. You may have your seat, sir. And thank you for giving us a fresh dimension, a fresh understanding of Afe Emmanuel Babalola. We have always been chorusing Afe Babalola without knowing the deeper meaning. Afe, we want. Emmanuel, we all know what Emmanuel stands for. Of course, we all know what Baba stands for. And when I was looking at the way you are emphasizing, you are educating us on the name Emmanuel, the significance and the signification of Emmanuel. When I saw a few things written about you, that you are a superior evangelist at the Celestial Church of Christ. Say, So apart from international politics, you are a pastor, and that you are equally a member and secretary of the governing board of CCC nationwide. Well, we are not surprised. Congratulations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our friend and brother has told us that order and counter orders will often lead to disorder. I agree with you. You also said whoever tells us that a tree cannot make a forest, we should tell him na lie. I'm quoting you. Please, when next you see Bishop Kuka, share that with him. He wrote an article about Afe Babalola some years ago, wherein he said, Afe Babalola, a case of a tree making a forest. I'm sure the father would like to share a copy with you. A tree indeed can make a forest. That has been epitomized and characterized by our founder and our father, Afe Babalola. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to our friend and brother. I'm sure there are people in the house who want to ask some questions because of our time, particularly we have listened to him. If you have questions, please raise up your hand. You will be called upon. You identify yourself. Please go straight to your question. Don't give another lecture. God bless you. Who is going to coordinate that with me? Okay, Brother Rotimi. Can we have some mobile microphones, please? Mobile microphones. Okay. Yes, madam, please come over. Your name, very briefly, and go straight to your question or comment. God bless you. Totality of your time here is 120 seconds, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, sorry. Please permit me to stand on existing protocols. Okay, so I have 2 questions. The first one is, why does Jordan support Israel instead of Palestine, despite the fact that majority of citizens stand in solidarity? The second one is, the dysfunctionality of the UN, is it a factor in the non-resolution of the conflict? Is the dysfunctionality of the UN a factor in the non-resolution of the conflict? Thank you.
Thank you. Your name, and go straight to your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Chimeze Jennifer, and my question is, how can the escalation between Israel and Iran go, and what implication does it have for the whole region?
Good day, everyone. My name is Ubonaya Abel, and my question is, having been that the background of the Israel-Palestine conflict is not just historical, but also have a very conflicting perspective, who do we tag? Sir? Okay. Who do we tag or picture as the aggressor, and why? Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohamed Zainab. My question is, how can the United States balance its pledge of support for Israel's security with an aim of preventing regional escalation, especially in the context of Israel's military assault on Gaza and the potential for unnecessary escalation and loss of civilian lives?
Thank you, friends. I'm surprised that nobody has any question from the College of Law. Ooh. Oh, okay, the last question from my friend from SMS.
Okay, my question. How can the United States balance its support for Israel's security with an aim of preventing regional escalation, especially in the context of Israel's military assault on Gaza and the potential for unnecessary escalation and loss of civilian lives?
Most unfortunately, the audio, I wouldn't get the questions very right, especially the last one. But the issue is this. One, how do we explain the support of Jordan? It's very easy. And I like the question. How can Jordan, an Arab country, be seen to be supporting? Simple. Jordan has signed an agreement with Israel. Research will show you that. Jordan has a special understanding with Israel. And that agreement is not the reason for the support. Never be mistaken about that. The issue is that Iran launched drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles of the character of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Iran is coordinating the missiles deployed in Yemen, in Syria, the map, well, is such that these missiles will fly over Jordan. And Jordan decided to ensure that none of the missiles will fall on its own territory. Please note that the definition of a state, territory, the fourth one is recognition. And you can have recognition of states and you have recognition of governments. Recognition of states is permanent. Dysfunction, there is an expression which is common in the literature. The free willing states. What does that mean? The free willing states. When a resolution is passed, who implements it? Who? It is the free willing states. States that have the means. Those countries that have vested interests. And I can tell you that countries in Eastern Europe, particularly Russia, when they talk about international law, they will say the international law you are talking about, that's the Western version. And they have started to give their own interpretation to many things. And it's not only that, many countries are revolting against the current world order. Why is there BRICS? BRICS is fighting, is protesting against the Bretton Woods institutions. So at the UN, it's a house divided against itself. You call it dysfunction. But the issue is that will Nigeria send bombs, soldiers to Israel in order to implement a resolution? Go and look at the history of Resolution 242, Resolution 338. 242 was for 1967. 338 was for 1973, Yom Kippur War. The following one is Resolution 339, and then Resolution 340. What is the outcome? Interest, they will be the leader. Please, you have heard about weapons of mass destruction. Did Iraq, Saddam Hussein, did the International Atomic Agency in Vienna carried out investigation on the basis of the instruction given by the UN? The report says there was nothing like weapons of mass destruction. So put cotton wood into its inner eardrum so that they will not hear what the world is saying. They launched the attack because they wanted to kill Saddam Hussein. So when you now talk about dysfunctionality at the UN, whether it's a factor, of course, there's no way it will not be a factor. It's a factor. Why has it been difficult for the United Nations to sanction Israel? Israel has been engaged in genocidal crimes. Israel has been engaging. Look, if the whole world today is now critical about Israel and America is giving the wrong impression that it's not going to be an ally of the Israelis, there is what they call the World Kitchen Center. That is the epicenter, the coordinating epicenter for aid to the Palestinians, even when there was no war. But they killed World Aid workers. Australians were there. They killed 3 British people. And the British people, they are now fighting the government. Oh, you are doing this and our people are being killed. That's why the pressure was high. So the UN has not been able to do anything. Why? Please, the UN a priori, lato sensu, is synonymous with the powerful countries. I'd like a situation whereby a court judge is pronouncing, making a statement, say, suicide bomber. I give you a death sentence. What does death sentence mean for a suicide bomber who left home to go and die? He decided to go and kill himself and kill others. But unfortunately for him, he was caught. And you say you are trying him. You are giving him death sentence. Death sentence doesn't mean anything. How can the escalation, go? And what will be the implication? The escalation is systemic, systematic. There is a fundamental difference between reprisal and retortion. Take note. Reprisal simply means that it's not just you do me, I do you. It simply means that you are retaliating using force. Israel used force to attack a diplomatic premise. The consulate, protected by the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations and the 1963 Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. It is taken for granted that at least, please, if you are weeping and tears are running down your face, you must also still learn to see. It is not because you are weeping that you will not see. The regulation is clear. Don't do this, don't do that one. But self-defense also has what we call preemptive self-defense. Israel has been more engaged in preemptive self-defense. In an attack to prevent, look, that's a very good case that everybody should learn from. It is the history of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan belonged to the Axis powers. Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and Italy. So during the war, Japan calculated strategically that if we are able to prevent United States from entering into World War II, it will be easier for them to deal decisively with the allies in Western Europe. They now decided that since America is a sea power, let us destroy what the United States had on the ground. That it will take the United States 6 clear months before they can easily reconstitute the damaged something. Good strategy. But the Japanese never learned. They never knew that America already had developed atomic weapons. They didn't know. But the issue now is just like when you see a snake, the snake sees you. The snake will be running. You run after the snake will be running faster. But the snake has short breath. It cannot for long be running away. When it gets tired, it will just turn back and already ready to strike. It's not different from what we are saying. The Japanese miscalculated. They launched an attack August 6 on Hiroshima. 48 hours thereafter, they launched another one. The first bomb launched by the United States is called the Little Man. They call the bomb the Little Man. The Nagasaki one is called the Fat Man. These are bombs. One, if it mixes with the air becomes deoxygenated, no oxygen. It touches you, it peels off your body. Emperor Hirohito was in a meeting with the cabinet when they now learned that the first bomb had been done. And when they know that people were dying in thousands, not in tens, not in 100s, please, by the time they were to reconvene, the second bomb came. They surrendered unconditionally. Now, Japan did not know that America had atomic weapons. This is the issue. How far will the escalation go? Only God Almighty can tell you. I am not able to tell you because I don't know who has prepared anything there. The Europeans came and said, oh, Russia, you aggressed Ukraine. You invaded Ukraine. Russia responded, no. What I did was only special military intervention, not invading. They have taken a number of sanctions, but at the end of the day, where are we? Where are we? Germany needs the gas from Russia. All of them, they are now fighting themselves. We don't know who has developed what. As at today, the type of bombs being used by Russia to fight Ukraine, it is a bomb that, you know, will shake the buildings. Glasses, we cannot say. Israel, when it launched attack on the Iranian embassy, he never thought that there will be this type of escalation. Israel is today afraid itself because Israel has demanded for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council on the matter. If they say Israel is powerful, he, you know, redirected or destroyed the missiles all along. But nobody is saying that France, United Kingdom, Germany, including Jordan, that tourists, they help to redirect, to destroy. Okay? It's not the might, the reservoir of might of Israel that has helped. They said 99% had been diverted, but they still admitted that some still reached Israel. This is the issue. And Israel, Iran is waiting for Israel for a counter reprisal. That's why I distinguish between reprisal and retortion. When it is retortion. And this distinction, my colleagues here, please, interference and intervention, they are not the same thing. They use them wrongly to imply the same. Intervention is not really interference. It simply means you are limiting everything to the level of diplomacy. So in terms of escalation, all that we are witnessing now, the war has the potential to be regionalized. The war has the potential to be regionalized. And in this particular case, the accentuation is such that the Israeli attack on Iranian embassy is bringing a unity, a fundamental unity of the Arabs now in a different way, different setting. Background, who is an aggressor in this case. Chapter 6 of the UN Charter talk about recommendations on peace and security. Chapter 7 of the UN Charter is about maintenance of international peace and security. It is under Chapter 7, particularly Article 51, that gives the UN Security Council the authority, the legitimacy to intervene, not necessarily to intervene, to intervene. So, in the context of self-defense, please, you can only engage in it pending the time the Security Council will take over. In that case, you cannot be an aggressor. You are only responding to an attack on your sovereignty. But who is an aggressor in the context of the Israeli-Palestine case? It all depends on chronology. When do you want to start? If you admit that in 1948, Palestine was divided into two. 56% given to Israel, 44% to the owners of the land. Please, when I say owners of the land, quote and unquote, you must understand it in context. If you go back to the origin, Judea, the Israelis were the first to live there. But when the Romans defeated them, conquered them, most of them fled. Only few people were left. Later on, Arabs came to be living with them, and they had majority thereafter. Population was greater. If you take the land away from the original owners and they become victims, the British, the UN enabled that. Who is the aggressor? The Arabs were simply responding to an act of aggression by Israel, supported by United Nations. If you look at 1967, the 5 Arab countries, Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and so on, they attack Israel. In polemology, they distinguish between immediate causal factors, distant causal factors, profound causal factors. What happened in 1967 was a reaction to a perception of injustice. October 7, Hamas attack. Who is the aggressor? If you are looking at the immediacy, you will say it's the Hamas. But the Hamas will tell you, Israel has this policy of wickedness. They control water. They control when they are going to give us electricity. They occupied their church, all those things there. And when sufferings, there's a limit to human sufferings. Hamas now decided that, look, enough is enough. And they want to damn the consequences. Then who is the aggressor in this case? If you are looking at who launched the attack first, you will say it's Hamas. But the Hamas will tell you, look, we have been suffering for quite a long time. So it depends on the factors you now want to consider. The last question, the United States, the question was not very clear. I think my colleague by that time his mouth was too close to the micro. If you can tell me what the question is, in less than 1 minute I will answer. Where are you, my sister? The last question. The last question. She was talking about the United States. Yeah, it's coming. From balance of power to balance of interest. The question is, how can the United States balance its support for Israel within the framework of regional frameworks and all those things? Fantastic question. When we talked about duplicity, the United States can only balance it by continuing with its policy of duplicity. But it cannot go well. It does not have any future. Because as it is, all those who have been aiding and abetting, when Israel is safe, is no longer listening to veto the last resolution at the UN Security Council. Israel was so angered to the extent that it had to cancel the consent of Israel. That is what is on the table now. So how do you reconcile this? The US has no option there than to accept the will of the international community. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Guest Speaker. We appreciate you for shedding more light on those. Let me greet you in a way that you don't expect. Hallelujah. I don't know whether you have met Ariafe Bala in person before. Have you? Have you met Ariafe Bala in person before? Good. Okay. May I call on my brother, Okpayemi? Oh, okay. The HOD wants to give out some awards on behalf of the department. Dr. Ajide, please.
Thank you, sir. For many years, the composer of the Nigerian national anthem, Ba Akinkumi, before it was much later that they formally recognized him. We have been listening to ABUAD anthem, the melody, the inspiration, and we want to give an award to the composer of that ABUAD anthem. Founder, sir, please, sir, we invite you to come.
ABUAD we come. Oh, ABUAD we come. Find it. Babalola Habibiba. Oh, technical team, please can you run the ABUAD anthem for us?
A unique environment with aesthetic structures, ABUAD University. Delivery unequal, design for high quality education to mold character and infuse knowledge how to lead others. Proud of ABUAD, they launch a path to excellence with determination and faith in our philosophy of industry, service and character. Our future for greatness and excellence is assured. And excellence is assured. And excellence is assured.
Thank you. Akpayoluwa, please. May I invite you to this? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, founder for his own remarks on this momentous occasion. Let's celebrate the founder, please.
Are you okay? Address it properly. Good afternoon, everybody. Please take your seats. Take your seats. Especially welcome, honor, respect, and state that Professor Bola A. Akiteniwa, who has lectured us today, is one of the greatest Nigerians ever. Give me a round of applause. Apart from this lecture, I watch him regularly on television, commenting on national and international matters. So coming here to give a lecture is nothing to him. It's used to him. That's why he wrote, give me a round of applause. much indeed, particularly about international matters. The Department of International Relations and Diplomacy for fishing out such a giant and for convincing him to come and lecture today. When your officers came to me and told me that they wanted me to be part of this lecture, I went away dejected. I never called them back. So they must be surprised that I changed my mind to come here this afternoon. Mrs. Secretary, we thank you for coming. We appreciate you. I do not know whether you slept here overnight and whether you have gone around the compound or not. You're going around one, my hospital, which has been described by the appropriate people as the most well-equipped hospital in Africa. Please sit down, ma'am. She will also arrange to take you to the colleges and, more importantly, to my farm. I'm a farmer. And finally, we'll take you to my industrial park. We are the only university in Nigeria where you can boast of industrial park. And Prof, I was in University of Lagos, and I saw the rot. All the universities, please sit down, sir. That is why here, and we are the only university in this country where we have residential education. What that means that everybody who is a student here lives on the campus. So we're able to mentor and monitor the character, their movement, the clothes they wear, what they eat. Nobody brings food to this place. Yes. Those in white are in another college, those in blue are in different colleges. We thank you for the big volume of lecture which you never read. I'm making an application to you to please send the soft copy to the Vice Chancellor, and the Vice Chancellor will give everybody a copy, including the Provost. You see me because there are many issues raised. The topic is the Israeli-Palestinian geopolitical conflict, implications for global peace and security in the 21st century. I've tried to look through a lot of good job I've done about the beginning of time, where what we now call Palestine, whatever, and the countries that have lived there over the years, and the biblical conflicts all the time. In October last year, you are all aware, when the terrorist group called Hamas, Palestinian group, attacked youths who were celebrating in the evening, took away over 1,000 and killed so many people, which led to the present war now between Israel and Gaza. Gaza itself came into existence only in 1948. United Nations. Now, the war has since virtually destroyed northern part of Gaza, and many people were killed, many imprisoned. Palestinians went away with some people called hostages. I would have thought that Hamas will release those hostages for peace, but they refuse up till now. I have written a series of articles. The theme of the article in each case is without an end. Hate without an end. The lecturer had dealt with the hate which I'm talking about. It is hate without an end. Because one, it originated from rebellion against God. And two, it was incubated from the womb. That's why it has been difficult to resolve. It is a generational conflict. It is a cancerous conflict, medically. It just started. It agrees with the conclusion read by the professor himself when he said at page, let me see, page 80 something, yes. International political governance are unnecessarily predicted on unfairness, injustice, exploitation on the weak and poor by powerful and rich countries of the world. The rich preach the gospel of demonstrations to the poor, making demonstration a conditionality for grant of development aid, but refusing to apply the same rule of demonstrations at the level of UNSS. For as long as a world governance continues to be predicated on might is right, and might must prevail, the world cannot know peace on an ending basis. For peace to find a place in contemporary international relations, all instruments of domination of one country over another must be removed. That's your quotation, sir. I agree with you. I didn't say it, that conforms with what I've written over and over. My own answer to your question, whether it can become a global war, my answer is yes, it can. Why? I learned about First World War, 1914 to 18. I was not born then. I also know about 1939-45 World War. I suffered because at that time I was in elementary school. We knew what it caused, even Nigeria. At the time, there was no salt in the whole of this country. We had to rely on ewuro in our soup and food. You know what war means. We always pray that there should be no war. The recent attack of Iran with about 300 missiles aimed at Israel, another sovereign country, shows that it can really become now. The failure of Russia, or rather, the attack of Russia or Ukraine, another sovereign country, which continues every day. You recall, for instance, that the Pope called on Putin and yet he refused. An action was filed in The Hague World Court. An order was made against Russia to stop the war. He refused. Our professor is vast international law. To me, international organization formed after 1948 is a toothless bulldog. It has no force of its own with which it can stop another country from going to war or to intervene. So it's like you going to the court of law. If you go to court of law, you get a judgment, say for £60,000. How do you enforce it? The price doesn't make any sense to you. You need the money. You can seize the car, you can seize the house, you can sell the house, or the money in the bank. The United Nations has no means of enforcing this order. They only just go there to eat and drink and wine and talk and go back home. My own suggestion is that you should go back to basis. That was why our university is the only university in the whole of Africa which has its own planetarium. I don't know whether you have seen it. The planetarium through your church, and you are a leader. Get other churches. Get the Muslims. Get other religions. Come together and let people appreciate that love is most important. After all, each and everybody in the Palestinian area we are talking about, whether Jew or whatever, were born by women. They are human beings like me. Why can't a man love another? That is the golden rule of Christ. Love yourself like the other man. Love the other man like yourself. If you love the other man like yourself, you won't want to kill him because you don't want to be killed. If you love the other man like yourself, you won't steal his property because you don't want him to steal your own property. You don't want to damage yourself, the same thing. Love is most important, the cardinal principle, the golden rule by Jesus. And it's also in every religion. So if you look for my own answer, it is tribalism, religion, and so on that are causing most of the problems we have in this world today. The Jews are not Palestinians. The Syrians are not Jews. But are you not all human beings? So if you apply that theory, cardinal principle, which is love one another, you can get it through to everybody. There can be peace in this world. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you. I think you can keep on clapping for the leader. Number one, for being with us throughout this solemn celebration. We appreciate you, sir. Please, let's celebrate him. Let's clap for him. He deserves to be so celebrated. We appreciate you, sir. You have just witnessed part of the multi-sidedness of our guest speaker. Apart from being a renowned scholar of international relations, he's equally a musician. Maybe by this time next year, his record will be on the 6th point. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in rounding off, may I call on our friend and colleague, Mrs. Cordelia Ilori, to please give the vote of thanks.
The founder, Are Afe Babalola, a visionary, passionate, and selfless leader, a man driven by transformational leadership, coupled with a philanthropist heart and a desire to transform education. It gives me great pleasure to have you grace our occasion today. We indeed consider ourselves highly favored to host your presence here today, and for this, we are most grateful. Can we all stand up with a clapping ovation and say thank you, sir? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You can all sit down. In absentia, a companion can assume different personalities, but no other person complements our founder like his dearest wife, Yeye Modupe Babalola. We deeply appreciate your presence here today and for your unquantifiable support today towards the success of this program. Thank you, ma'am. Our Vice Chancellor, we thank you for your endless support. Each time we call on you, you respond. Each time we get stuck, you show up for us. The program today would have not been successful but for your effort and your support towards us. For this, we say thank you, ma'am. Our amiable registrar, your presence here today is highly appreciated, ma'am. Thank you. We now know that without you, there would be no human side of the school. We lost a colleague sometimes in the year, and with that, you showed us tremendous support, and for this, we say thank you, ma'am. Our provost, we appreciate you, sir. No other provost does it better than our provost, Professor Christopher Aino. A big round of applause for him. Thank you, sir, for your support and for the success of this program here today. We want to also appreciate our immediate past provost in the person of Professor Aziz. Can we keep... Thank you for your support and for all you do for us. IRD students, can you stand up and give the loudest ovation to our HOD in the person of Dr. Ajinde Oluwashaki. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Indeed, we are happy to have a HOD like you. Thank you for being understanding. Thank you for all your support and your love towards us. Thank you for being a father in the department. Indeed, we cannot do it on our own, but with a good leader like you. Thank you so much, sir. To our special guest, Professor Akinteriwa and his beautiful wife. Sir, now we know we have a new member of the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy. Thank you, sir. We are most grateful, Prof. Thank you for sharing just a fraction of your wealth of knowledge. For want of time, we know you would have shared much more with us, but for the little you have shared with us, we say thank you, sir. We hope that more forums and lectures would be organized so that we can draw more from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you, sir. I want to appreciate all faculty members of the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy For want of time, I would not be able to mention everybody's name. But can we, with another loud ovation, appreciate the person of Professor Adaora Osondu Oti? Indeed, she spearheaded the diplomatic dialogue, and today it continues to thrive because of her innovation and idea. Thank you so much, ma. My dearest students, we believe you have learned from our erudite scholar today. We admonish you to do business with all you have learned here today, and we know that the knowledge he has shared will do you good as you pursue your career. Thank you once again, and for every other person that I have failed to mention, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have rendered the ABUAD anthem after the founder received his award. By rounding off, please permit me to request all of us to be upstanding so that we can render the anthem, which marks the end of this program. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Technical team, ABUAD anthem.